for joining us on Arc Salt Lake. I'm Brian Schnee. It is Tuesday, December 10th. Tonight we're taking a look at the BYU Cougars landing the top recruit in high school basketball. But first, let's go in depth on the case of 3 missing boys out of American Fork, Utah. They were reported missing back in October of 2022, and within the last few months, they were found. Police say the disappearance was orchestrated by their father and members of the fundamentalist Latter-day Saint sect. Police released the name of the boys years ago, but out of respect to the family, we won't be doing that tonight. The boys were located down here, Fredonia, Arizona, after police received information in late August of their location. Here's what happened when police served a warrant on September 1st of this year.
Sheriff's Department. Sheriff's Department.
Come here, we got to open the door. Come on out, guys. Come on, come on. Let's calm down. Don't resist. Calm down, kiddo.
They going in the door, lock it.
Okay. There you go. There you go. Here we go. Number 1. Hands up on the floor. On the floor. On the floor. Lie down. On the floor. Show me your hands. Crawl out this way to me. Crawl out this way. Crawl towards me. Who else is in there? Everyone in there. Everyone in there. Let me see your hands. Crawl out towards the sound of my voice. Come on.
Keep your hands up where you can see them. Yeah, come on.
Yep.
Did they leave that room?
There you go. Stop right there. Who else is in there?
Weapons on you? Any guns, knife?
I have a knife on me right here.
Okay, I see it. Leave it right there. Chief, we're moving into clear. The police, anyone in here? Show me your hands. Got a door left. It's a blind corner. Door left. Clear. This one's clear.
Clear?
We've got one.
Got one. Let me see your hands.
Stand up. Show us your hands. Show us your hands. Hands.
Hands up, both of them.
Stand up.
Hands up.
Do you have any weapons on you? Moving in.
Check under the bed.
Up. Get up. Show us your hands. Stand up. Stand up.
Hands up.
Out of the bed. Out of the bed.
Hands up.
Stand up. Show us your hands. Do you have any weapons
Hands
on you?
up.
My watch.
That's not a weapon.
But
But I'll hold it for you.
You know our people, you know they're not violent people, so why are you doing this?
Okay, let's move outside.
Your body cam's down or
Yes,
not?
ma'am.
It better be.
Yes, ma'am. All right.
Well, the body camera was on. The grandmother and aunt who were taken into custody that night, you just saw them there. I've confirmed with Fredonia police that the father was not there that night, but is incarcerated. The boys are back with their mother in American Fork. I recently spoke with Shirley Draper, who was born into the fundamentalist Latter-day Saints community. And when the group was taken over by Warren Jeffs, she left. Now she works for a nonprofit serving people with polygamous backgrounds.
It is very similar to many, many situations that we've been involved with, where a mother will, once she's expelled from the FLDS, will try to go and take her children from wherever they're held, and that reunification can be very, very difficult. And so this case is very, very similar to several others that we've been involved in. It's always very heartbreaking. A lot of trauma is involved anytime a child is separated from either parent. And in these cases, they've been separated from both parents and then, hidden so that the parents cannot reunify with them. So in times past, we've been able to many times just get a court order and go and really peacefully resolve it. I think a lot of times the people who have the children, they're terrified. They're terrified for their lives and their salvation, and they're doing what they think they need to do to get to heaven. But there really are ways to resolve this without creating a lot of the hiding and driving people underground.
I mean, is that part of the sect somewhere where that is part of what you're supposed to do with the children and keep them away from other parts of the world, in essence?
Yes, yes, absolutely. I mean, the children are to be raised as calves in the stall. That's a biblical term. And particularly if they perceive that the parents are apostate, to where they will cause the child to lose their salvation. And so if the parents have, before they'd apostatized, if they'd given their children over to be cared for by another family and then come back to try to get that child, that's where the conflict arises. So yes, there is a directive usually from whoever's telling that particular family what to do about hiding them or keeping them away from the family. And so I think there's a very surgical approach that has to be taken when parents are trying to reunify with children that can be very successful and be done quickly. Or, you can go about it the wrong way and drive them into hiding, and it takes many, many months after that.
How would you describe what these boys experienced over 2 years? Like, what is that inside look really, I guess, what does it really look like when they are in hiding?
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, there's a lot of fear. I mean, the socialization is the only way you'll be safe, the only way you can get to heaven is to be obedient and not ever show your face to anyone who's trying to take you away. And so that indoctrination, that fear teaching is a really high part of what keeps those kids. I mean, these particular kids, they actually ran away. They didn't get taken by an adult. They ran away because they really had bought into that fear that they were going to go to hell unless they went back to the place where they could be saved. So that kind of indoctrination happens anyway. And so I think that, again, there's some really specific techniques, interventional techniques that can be used to keep children with parents if we do it really carefully, surgically, strategically.
What do you hope the public takes away from something like this with that broad misunderstanding or lack of understanding about what the FLDS sect really is in the first place?
Well, a couple of things. And one of them is, understanding that these stories that they're hearing are outliers. Like, the FLDS, first of all, is much as a shadow of what it formerly was. And those that remain really are doing so out of fear and out of the only information and programming and indoctrination they've ever received. It's not like this aunt and grandmother went as adults and decided to start following Warren Jeffs and believing all of these really outlandish things. This is all the information they've ever had. And so they were operating on the very best information they had. They were trying to help these boys. I think that a lot of compassion, a lot of understanding would go a long way here. I have a lot of compassion for everyone in this situation. And I think that there's a lot of things we can do in interventions and therapy that will make a difference. But these kinds of stories are becoming fewer and further between because of the attrition. We just don't have the numbers there that we used to have.
So this is not really common anymore.
Not much, not as much.
What happens to these 3 boys from here? Where does their mindset go? Are they able to find a way in what we consider traditional society nowadays? Do they run away again years later? Like, what in theory would happen after something like this of being removed from something they've known?
There are 3 pathways, and I've seen all 3 happen. One pathway is they don't overcome the indoctrination. They choose to go back as adults, go back to what they found to be safe and comforting and, familiar. Even if that happens, because of the disintegration of the FLDS sect and leadership, I don't see that being a long-term solution. A second path is that with all of the trauma they've had, with all of the, the breakdown of the sense of belonging and identity and everything, there have been some really poor outcomes, particularly for males. We have a suicide rate that is 960% higher than the national severe benchmark. The vast majority of those are males between the ages of 19 and 29 is the largest group, but we've had as young as 16 and as old as 82. So with males, it's generally a little more difficult to get them the help they need and get them to understand that they really need the help and to accept the help. And so that's why that group tends to be the most vulnerable. Sometimes if it's not suicide, then it is, drug and alcohol use. So if they don't go back into the religion, but don't get the help, then sometimes there can be some really poor outcomes that way. The third path is, get the mental health they need, get their support and the resources they need, and really just go on to live a really great life. One of the things that marks this population with the services that we provide, that we see, is that it's also a very resilient population if they get the resources they need. And so really, the three paths diverge rapidly, and a lot of that really depends on the kind of help, if it's trauma informed, if it's evidence based, and if it is culturally appropriate that these boys can receive and how quickly they can receive it.
Right now, you see the KUTV.com website there. Just put up this article for you. It's got a little bit more information. We're going to get some longer form conversation that I had with Shirley up on our YouTube page, and also that body camera video if you'd like to watch it back. But if you need some more information, or if you want to learn about cherished families, I have a link there on our website, KUTV.com. Coming up on Arc Salt Lake, the #1 college basketball recruit in the country commits to BYU. Who he is and the impact of this decision, coming up. Talking hoops here on Arc Salt Lake, the #1 basketball recruit in the country, AJ Dybantsa, has committed to BYU. He is currently a senior at Utah Prep. Have you heard of it? It's in Hurricane. He also had offers from Alabama, North Carolina, and Kansas. Plays high school basketball in Utah. Earlier today, I spoke with the director of scouting at 24/7 Sports about the impact of the top basketball recruit in college right now, or in high school, looking to play college ball while staying in Utah. The top recruit in the nation that already plays here in Utah is staying in Utah. Adam, your thoughts?
Well, it is a, shall we say, historic day for BYU. I mean, AJ Dybantsa is the type of prospect who I don't think most people ever would have dreamed would have ended up at BYU until very recently, but this has been the expectation dating back to this summer. I mean, just to say it like it is, they really invested a significant amount of NIL in pursuit of him. But more than that, they also built a plan around new head coach Kevin Young and the system he has in place to convince AJ and his father that they were the spot to develop him for the NBA. They've branded this Provo, capital P, capital R, capital O, lowercase v, lowercase o. And it goes into the style of play, the nutrition, the strength and conditioning, as well as the sports. I think it's the mental part of the game as well. And they are putting those four tenets together, marketing them to the players across the country. And now they have the very best recruit in the entire country who will play for BYU next year. So really is a historic day for their program.
How much of this comes down to the dollar?
It's the starting point. You have to be able to hit a certain threshold to get into the door. But once you get to that threshold, then it becomes about some other things. So there is a price you have to be able to match. But they weren't the only school who was able to match that. And then it was about out recruiting the other schools who were in that territory. And that's where those four pillars come in. And they've really done a good job in that area. And I should also say this, and I've made this point a couple times today, but I think it's important. Even the dollar in and of itself, that's part of the job now. If you're a high major head coach, you have to cultivate those relationships with businesses, with donors, with everybody who's in support of your program. And you have to have a CEO type approach to try and line up all those variables. And that's really what Kevin Young has been able to do in the 7 months since he's been named the head coach of that program. Because let's remember now, Mark Pope leaves BYU for Kentucky because he thinks Kentucky's a better job. I mean, that's why people leave one high major job for another. Kevin Young came in. This is a guy who's been mentioned for NBA head coaching jobs of the last couple of years. Clearly, this was the place he wanted to be. And he rallied other people around who were like-minded, and now they've made it a destination.
For people that don't know who AJ Dybantsa is and they're big, Cougar donors or lifelong BYU Cougar fans, what are they getting?
AJ Dybantsa is a jumbo wing. He's 6'9", which you typically associate with a forward or maybe even a center, but he moves and covers the court like a guard, like a wing. If you watched First Take this morning, you heard him say that he was a cross between Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Tracy McGrady. His dad compared him to LeBron James. I'm not sure I'm willing to go that far. To me, he's a more athletic version of Brandon Miller at the same stage. But he's the best prospect in high school basketball. He's one of the best. You could make a case that he's the best prospect we've seen in the last 3 years.
All right, shout out Adam Finkelstein, my old broadcast partner back in New England. We used to call some prep games together. Looking at some storms here right now, nowhere near us.
That's right.
We were just talking about skiing. This isn't doing anything right now for us.
I'm liking what I'm seeing here, though, for the forecast.
We'll be patient.
If you asked me last week, I was looking a little grim for us. Okay. Quiet conditions.
You're optimistic now.
Yes, we've got 3 storms. That's why. So let's get to it. We've got a busy forecast here showing, we've got active weather out in the east, high pressure system over the next few days. That'll bring us maybe a light little haze and inversion. Here's storm number 1, though, moving in as we get into Thursday night and into Friday morning. Friday morning, we could get a quick burst of some snow here, including down across the valley floors. this can make for a little bit of a slick morning commute, and especially as you're getting out towards lunchtime Friday, still seeing some periods of snow drying out into the afternoon and evening on Friday. So not a big storm, but we'll see a nice burst of some snow, and then heading into the weekend, storm number 2 moves in. This one, model's still kind of all over the place, low confidence, but right now this potentially could be bigger than the first storm for the mountains, not for the valleys, because it could be a mix of rain and snow here, with it starting off as rain and then transitioning and ending over to snow as we get into Sunday evening. Believe it or not, there's also a third storm in about a week heading into Tuesday. So what we're looking at right now in terms of those snowfall amounts, about a coating to 2 inches for the valleys, 3 to 7 inches for the mountains. That's for storm number 1. Right now, models, again, getting a little bit closer here. Get a good consensus about 1 inch to 2 inches will be a possibility for us here in Salt Lake City. Out ahead of it, though, we've got cold conditions, 20s and teens, wind chills even lower than that. So you'll definitely need the jacket, and especially for the kiddos heading off to school tomorrow, it will be freezing cold. We're into the 40s tomorrow, so this starts a little bit of a brief warm up. Back into the 40s we go. St. George, you've got temperatures here into the 50s, a few spot showers as we get into Thursday. The weekend looking a little bit better here in terms of those temperatures into the mid and upper 50s. Then along the Wasatch Front, we've got all the storms here now in the 7-day forecast. Storm number 1 on Friday, storm number 2. Remember, mix of rain and snow. So stay tuned with us here over the course of the next few days as we fine tune that forecast into Sunday. Then storm number 3 moving in as we get into next Tuesday and Wednesday. Right now, the odds, Brian, climatologically speaking, for a white Christmas, 50% chance.
Okay.
And we're hoping that we'll have snow on the ground. Still, of course, plenty days away. We'll continue to keep an eye on it.
All right, something we'll keep an eye on. Everyone loves the old white Christmas. Coming up on Arc Salt Lake, wild video of a garbage truck exploding in Illinois. The moment, the aftermath, next. that moment, a garbage truck blew up. This was in Illinois, damaging several homes. My goodness. Frightening video. All right, thanks for joining us tonight at 7 o'clock.